Guillermo del Toro once said the greatest mistake in writing for children is forgetting just how dark it felt to be one, something he realized while watching Disney's Pinocchio.
This is not a happy cartoon on TV. This somebody gets it. And I still have this feeling with Disney. I think Disney had a huge reservoir of darkness to command the light.
That forgotten fear, that emotional truth would resurface decades later, captured through an unexpected medium, and an even more unexpected crossover. A video game that dared to take the sincerity of Disney's storytelling and fuse it with something deeper, stranger, and maybe even braver. I'm Shanmania, and welcome to a deep dive of Kingdom Hearts 1. Kingdom Hearts is a 2002 PS2 action RPG that was supposedly conceived in an elevator by entertainment media giants Disney and Squaresoft. It aimed to create an original story by combining Disney's vast array of IP with characters from Square's Final Fantasy games. Now, to the uninitiated, that might sound like putting syrup on your sushi. Square had actually relished the idea of using Disney characters on a project for years. They wanted to make a game to compete with Super Mario 64, and it was thought one could only do so with a character as recognizable as Mickey Mouse. Hearing all the Disney buzz, Final Fantasy designer Tetsuya Nomura would volunteer to lead the project. This was the man responsible for Cloud's spiky hair, the gunblade, and Tifa's boots. Nomura had had plenty of experience designing characters and monsters in the Final Fantasy games, but Kingdom Hearts would serve as his directorial debut. Now, surface level. It's impossible to jump into Kingdom Hearts cold. These companies have made too much money for you and at least 2 generations before you not to know who Mickey Mouse is. And people who don't know what a Final Fantasy or a Hironobu Sakaguchi is, at least know that the blonde dude with the big sword is Cloud.
I'm just here for the paycheck, but it'll cost you a lot. I'm gonna need a raise.
As was designed, the game draws in a lot of camps. With it being such an odd pairing, the average person likely won't jive with everything. Maybe you like the RPG Final Fantasy stuff, but are turned off by the Disney, or vice versa. First of all, I'll say just go in with an open mind. It's actually a pretty big theme of the game, living in and exploring new worlds, learning about them. This is so much more than a simple crossover, and that's exemplified as soon as the title screen. It's an image of a boy staring off into the distance with a slow and morose piano piece to back it. It evokes a feeling of faraway melancholy. Where a lot of games use the title screen to amp up and excite the player, Kingdom Hearts does the opposite. It's a game that confronts some of the harder truths while growing up, tackling the fear of thinking about an uncertain future. It's also a game where you can summon Dumbo from a giant key.
Say, fellas, did somebody mention the door to darkness?
To set the precedent for this video, we'll be doing a Dream Drop deep dive on the first Kingdom Hearts. We'll be going level by level, talking about gameplay, story, and design elements as they come up. This won't be an all-inclusive lore video. I'm aware prequels and sequels exist, but we'll be looking at Kingdom Hearts 1 as if it were in a vacuum. And even still, I'm certainly bound to miss things or state an opinion that people don't like. I'm making this for the love of the game. I need my thoughts on Kingdom Hearts to exist somewhere once I'm dead.
What are you talking about?
I've been playing it since 2002. I have a tattoo of the crown deal. It's not my favorite game, but certainly was an important one to me growing up, as were a lot of the other games in the series, but I think it's important that the first one gets to stand alone as it did in 2002. One more housekeeping item, there are a lot of variants of Kingdom Hearts 1. Which are we going to go with? Initially, I was going to record the NTSC PS2 version that I grew up with, but as I'm sure many of you know, this game pulls a Final Fantasy X. A Japan-exclusive reissue featuring additional content came out in late 2002, it being dubbed Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. Now, apart from these nasty recolors, new items, abilities, other gameplay stuff, there also was additional story content. A few hours into my PS2 playthrough, I feared I was missing out, slapped an English patched version of Final Mix on my Raspberry Pi, and it would freeze every time after the cutscene of the Leon fight. I wanted that authentic PS2 experience with all the bells and whistles. But I'll tell you right now, just play the 1.5 remaster. You get all your Final Mix goodies, quality of life changes, as well as higher resolution and FPS. It really is one of the better remasters out there. With all that out of the way, let's turn the key, open the door, and begin Kingdom Hearts.
I've been having these weird thoughts lately. Like, is any of this for real? Or not?
So much to do. So little time. Take your time. Don't be afraid. Thanks, ominous voice. Once you've finished your popcorn and your speakers are done being assaulted by J-pop, our boy comes to on a stained glass platform of Snow White, quite fittingly Disney's first ever animated feature film. If it's your first time and you've somehow managed to avoid the startup logos, trademark information, box art, and word of mouth in the last 20 plus years, technically this would be your first acknowledgement of the Disney tie-ins. This had to have been a hugely important decision, and I think it is done masterfully. It's done in a dream. It's right up front. It doesn't feel like it comes out of nowhere. And our guy here, he's already dressed like Mickey Mouse, so he doesn't look that out of place. Apart from moving and jumping around, we are tutorialized on the command menu. While the combat in Kingdom Hearts takes place in real time, this menu is sort of a holdover from the turn-based Final Fantasy games. Give it a little bit of time and we'll be shooting icicles, energy beams, summoning not Eddie Murphy. This menu helped conserve buttons, especially on the PS2 when the camera wasn't tied to the right stick. Soon thereafter, we're asked to pick between 3 weapons. Choose one to keep and one to give up. I choose shield and give up sword, mainly because it looks funny when he's smacking stuff with the shield. Mechanically, as you might have guessed, this determines what you're most proficient at in the early game. Pretty standard RPG stuff. Yawn. A bit later, you go through a door and end up on a beach where you have to answer questions around your own philosophical values. What's most important to you? What do you want out of life? What are you afraid of? Now, the underlying effect these answers have on your gameplay is stupid, but the experience of thinking about these questions, it can be quite impactful, especially if you're younger. I remember spending a lot of time on this part as a kid. It felt like the game was aware that I was a child, but listen to my answers as if they were from an adult. For those of you who are more concerned with how this affects gameplay, well, the answers that you give affect the rate at which you level. It's a pretty odd mechanic that I'm not sure adds that much to the experience. Do you want to grind at the start or the end? They're really laying on the metaphors thick. Also, does this design remind anybody else of Andre the Giant or Hugo from Street Fighter? I just can't be alone on this. We're introduced to our first boss, Darkseid. There's a bit of a waiting game, but hopefully by this point it's been conveyed that mashing X is the optimal strategy here, and will continue to be so. Following the fight, we lose our shield, are told by an ominous voice that we hold the mightiest weapon of all, and drown in dark eco. I gotta say, the cinematography of these scenes is done so well. I mean, it is what Square was known for, and they knew that. That's why they tried to make a movie that failed. But the only other people besides Square doing this kind of stuff at the time was like Konami with Metal Gear Solid 2. Anyway, we wake up, turns out it was all a dream.
Whoa! Give me a break, Kyrie.
Sorry, you lazy bum. I knew that I'd find you snoozing down here.
Time to get a bit more grounded. We learn our protagonist's name is Sora. He lives on the aptly named Destiny Islands, where he spends his days daydreaming about traveling to other worlds with his sort of girlfriend Kyrie and best friend slash rival Riku. And you didn't mishear me there. I said other worlds. like Space Planet Otherworlds.
Along with any other worlds out there.
Which raises a lot of questions about their plan to build a raft to accomplish this.
But how far could a raft take us?
I guess I'm the only one working on the raft.
Regardless, it gets us in the dreamy headspace of these kids, and after Kyrie sends us off to look for supplies, ties into the gameplay, letting us get to grips with the platforming of KH1. In the meantime, you're also given the option to participate in stick fights with the other children on the island. Look at that, it's kid Titus Walk-in selfie from our dream. Square really nailed it in terms of choosing which Final Fantasy characters do we turn into kids and put on a beach. Unfortunately, this Waka voice actor doesn't hold a candle to John DiMaggio.
Hey, what's happening, man?
While these fights do help you level up a little bit, combat really isn't all too complicated right now. You've got your 3-piece Chicken McNugget combo on the ground or in the air, a lock-on button, and the ability to deflect an attack with your own, if you get the timing right. The game really incentivizes you to go for these deflects, as it will reward you with tech points or experience points. And I mean, it just feels good.
You've been thinking a lot lately, haven't you?
Thanks to you. If you hadn't come here, I probably would have never thought of any of this.
Maybe this is just my bias, but I've always kind of seen the late 90s, early 2000s as the boom of rival characters in games. Pokemon, Sonic, Devil May Cry, that Earthworm Jim cartoon. Did anyone else watch that? Riku is no different. He makes moves on our girl in front of us. He's got muscles, he keeps score of the stick fights, and he seems to have an unfiltered string of thoughts from the I'm 14 and I think this is deep subreddit.
I've always wondered why we're here, on this island. If there are any other worlds out there. Why did we end up on this one?
It's obvious that Riku is starting to become a bit too hot topic for the others. They even joke about leaving without him on their raft adventure. He takes it all a bit more seriously than he should, and you gather from the subtext that he doesn't really plan on coming back. I do wish we were given a bit more of a solidified reason as to why Riku wants to leave so bad. I mean, have you seen where he lives? Instead, so much of his screen time is used pushing the player to want to beat him, and it all comes to a head when the Paopu fruit is introduced.
If two people share one, their destinies become intertwined. They'll remain a part of each other's lives, no matter what. Come on, I know you want to try it.
What are you talking?
Now, out of context, it might seem like Riku's putting the moves on Sora there, and maybe he is, but this is also setting up the next scene where Sora and Riku do the usual to determine who gets to name the raft. Now, the usual ends up being a foot race and not mud wrestling, much to Riku's dismay, with one more stipulation.
If I win, I'm captain. And if you win...
I get to share the Paopu with Kyrie.
Huh?
Deal? The winner gets to share a Paopu with Kyrie.
You cut me deep, Shrek. You cut me real deep just now.
Yeah, they don't make rival characters like this anymore. Did anybody else always think that the Paopu fruit looked like a Beanie Baby? They just throw you into this race, which is so rigged against you. If it's your first time playing, there is an almost zero chance you will win. Luckily, it's not my first time, so Shagwagon the raft shall be.
Oh, behave.
It does only affect the naming. Riku admits afterwards that the Paopu fruit thing was just a joke. Still, it all serves to portray Riku as manipulative and emotionally distant, yet undeniably determined.
Who's there?
I've come to see the door to this world.
Our raft fetch quest leads us to a cave with a door in it, where Sora is then visited by an older man in a cloak.
This world has been connected.
His dialogue's a bit reminiscent of the mysterious voice we were hearing in our dream, talking about doors and whatnot, but he seems more evil, and we know things are afoot when he drops the D word, and we're hit with the most ominous set of strings.
Tied to the darkness. Soon to be completely eclipsed.
And then he's gone. Here comes the beach music. Maybe we're trying to downplay, but it does undercut the moment a bit. Shockingly, Sora does not bring the hooded man up to Riku, Kyrie, his own mother.
Sora! Dinner's ready! Come on down! Sora?
Oh my god, it's Phil and Lil's mom from Rugrats. Because of a brewing storm, Sora heads back to check on the raft the night before the adventure.
What's that?
But rearranges his priorities when he sees that Riku and Kyrie have made their way here by evidence of their boats, as well as monsters from his dream earlier. Try to attack him? Nothing. It's like trying to catch smoke. Like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. We find Riku standing just below the newly formed Apocalypse Ball, and he's starting to talk about doors as well.
The door is open. Now we can go to the outside world.
What are you talking about? We gotta find Kyrie.
Kyrie's coming with us. Once we step through, we might not be able to come back. We can't let fear stop us. I'm not afraid of the darkness.
He said it! He said it! Sora reaches for Riku as he's engulfed by the devil's snare, the screen goes black, and then... we finally dispose of our wooden sword training wheels as something called a keyblade pops into Sora's hands. I mean, it is just a giant key, and the reason we have it is because Disney said no to the chainsaw. Yes, that's a real story. It's no gunblade, but it sure proves effective against these bug monsters, and everything else over the next 30 plus hours. Let's make our way to the secret place, which now has an eerily familiar door at its entryway, where we then find Kyrie.
Sora...
The out-of-place door, where we last spoke to that potential pedophile, swings open, unleashing a purple haze. Kyrie disappears into Sora, and Sora is blown out of the cave. I know this is a lot of exposition, but make sure you're taking notes about the cause and effect of events right here. We're thrown into another fight with Andre the Giant, who seems to have also made his way out of our dreams, just before getting sucked up into the Apocalypse Ball, along with what seems to be the rest of the world.
Oh? Oh! Look! A star's going out! Come on, let's hurry!
Before we continue, we have to stop and acknowledge the hard cuts to Disney Castle. And more importantly, a certain Disney duo we'll be seeing a lot more of. It becomes obvious that Sora is gonna group up with these two, as they're given the mission to find the literal key to their survival by their absent king, who, to no one's surprise, is Mickey Mouse, whom we don't actually get to see. According to the note that he wrote, he's left to investigate why the stars have been blinking out. It might seem kinda odd keeping Mickey out of the spotlight, being that he was Square's original choice for the protagonist, while Disney's was actually Donald Duck. Disney had given Square a very strict one Mickey Mouse scene limit just in case the game was a flop. Or at least that was the rumor. The real reason is that Disney had already given away the rights of the character to Nintendo and Capcom to make this Mickey Mouse GameCube game, and there was some contractual stipulation that said Mickey could not appear in other games for X amount of time, or something along those lines. Now, according to Nomura, they persisted and got the following response from Disney. As long as you only have one scene from far away as a silhouette with him waving his hand or something. Which is amazing, and just put a pin in that. Back to Donald and Goofy. Why choose to highlight them and not like Lumiere or Governor Ratcliffe? Well, on top of being more recognizable and not involved in a genocide, they are much more malleable. They've already been adapted into so many different personas in the past, some of which we don't talk about anymore. Scratch what I said about genocide. So having these two spend a bit of time with some JRPG characters is no big deal. Just throw some zippers on their clothes, give them a magic wand and shield, and they're golden. With their king's orders, they take their N64-looking spaceship to Traverse Town, which, hey, would you look at that? That's exactly where Sora ended up.
Where am I? Oh boy.
From here, you are free to explore, and after talking to some of the folks around, like Recolored Titus here, you can surmise that this is a sort of refuge world, or purgatory for those who have lost their own. It kind of has a dreamy, liminal quality about it. Nobody here is a local. Nobody here truly calls it home. But it feels safe, apart from when we see this poor man perish in front of us. And he seemingly has his heart stolen by one of the monsters. More on this later. Still, Traverse Town is one of my favorite locations in all of Kingdom Hearts to explore. So many creative treasure spots, banger music tracks, and detail. So much detail packed in here. You have this Lady and the Tramp reference in the 3rd district, and the hotel is just filled with these strange interactables. All the paintings have these weird captions, and there's this like ghost receptionist. Sora can weigh himself with this scale in the item shop. It's almost too detailed because the other worlds don't even come close. Not to say that they don't make up for it in other ways, it's just obvious that Traverse Town got the most refinement. Just look at the beta footage, it's obvious that there was a lot of hands in this pie.
They'll come at you out of nowhere.
Who are you?
And they'll keep on coming at you, as long as you continue to wield the Keyblade.
After bumbling around a bit, we're approached by Squall from Final Fantasy VIII, who is now going by Leon. It becomes apparent that he's aware of the Keyblade as he tries to take it from us forcefully. Win or lose, Sora wakes up at the hotel in the 2nd District. As it turns out, Leon is on our side and leading a sort of resistance group consisting of characters from Final Fantasy VII, including a Sid Highwind who has given up smoking. They seem to have a pretty good idea of what's going on, and seeing that they're in Traverse Town, we can assume that their world has met the same fate as Sora's.
When the Heartless came, everything changed.
The monsters that we've been smacking around with the Keyblade, those are called Heartless.
Those without hearts.
This is kind of a common pitfall, but don't take what Leon just said there literally. The name Heartless alludes to them being cold and unfeeling. They're not heartless, lacking hearts, they are heartless. Ever since they came around, interstellar travel has been possible. All of the worlds are now, as the game puts it, connected. My ears kind of perk up at that word, as it becomes really apparent when Square is trying to be more ambiguous with a certain topic as their word choice gets more selective. We also get a brief mention of someone named Ansem who studied the Heartless. He detailed his findings in reports that were scattered too many worlds.
Its pages are scattered everywhere. Too many worlds.
It looks like a 2 got fumbled there in the localization process. These reports are what King Mickey covets, or at least that's what we're told. He doesn't do a great job of finding them, spoilers. Oh yeah, also the Keyblade is like sentient. It doesn't talk or anything, but like it consciously chose Sora to be its wielder. So just put pins in all of that stuff.
Well, I didn't ask for this. How did all this happen? I remember being in my room.
We haven't talked about Sora's character a ton. We know he's a little lazy, more go with the flow, and that he cares for his friends, but for the most part, he mainly serves as a player insert character. He's a good boy who wants to do right. This scene doesn't change any of that, but it humanizes him and reminds us that he's just a kid. Why should he care about Ansem reports? At this point, the Keyblade seems like a lot more responsibility than it's worth. And Haley Joel Osment, who still voices him to this day, does a fantastic job portraying the character.
Wait a minute! What happened to my home? My island? Riku! Kairi!
Soon thereafter, Heartless invade and we are forced out of the hotel. Leon's all like, "Come on, Sora, let's go," but runs ahead of us, and our Sora is still quite alone. And you can really feel it if you take on a lot of these soldier Heartless. Our Sora is still pretty frail. Make your way to the 3rd District where Sora finally crosses paths with Donald and Goofy. No time for introductions though, because bada bing bada boom, Heartless. Right off the bat, you'll notice that Donald and Goofy are fighting alongside us. They definitely take off some of the heat, but you don't have any direct control over them. You can press triangle to influence their aggro, but Sora is still the primary conductor of this Disney train. If he goes down, it's over. Donald is kind of a glass cannon and pretty decent healer, despite what you might hear, and Goofy's no slouch on handing out damage, while also being a solid meat shield. After the trio clears out a wave of Heartless, a giant suit of armor with the Heartless insignia appears, and this fight, in my experience, serves as the don't just rush in litmus test. I did lie earlier when I said all you gotta do is mash X to win fights. The true core of KH's combat lies in recognizing enemy attack tells. Sora and his newly acquired allies aren't the speediest fellas either, so every and
Come on!
counts. It's not Dark Souls slow, but sometimes it's better not to finish your 3-piece combos and opt for a tactical retreat instead. Guard armor hits harder than anything we've seen so far, but the game still does throw you a bone. As you defeat each set of limbs, they explode into HP balls, which is much appreciated because our healing is currently tied to our finite stock of potions, and it's just satisfying to boot. After the battle, we get some proper introductions where Donald cons Sora into traveling with them to help them find the king.
Hey, why don't you come with us? We can go to other worlds on our vessel.
I wonder if I could find Riku and Kairi.
Of course! Are you sure? Who knows?
Leon assures us that he's just trolling, and here we get one of my favorite Sora moments. Despite being no closer to finding his friends, Sora is still able to maintain an overall positive outlook.
Yes, but ones on happy faces.
Happy?
This was the era of the happy, glass-half-full square protags, Zidane and Titus being the progenitors. We needed somebody who would have chemistry with a cartoon duck and dog. I mean, can you imagine Cloud traveling alongside these two? Sora, with his size 24 sneakers, fits the bill perfect. Whether it was intentional or not, I think you can see some of those Final Fantasy characters in him.
Okay, why not? I'll go with you guys.
Name's Goofy.
I'm Sora.
All for one, one for all.
It always bothered me how crap the metal thing on Sora's glove looked on the PS2 version. Donald and Goofy are officially sworn into the team, but before we can take away their ability to use any of our items, we cut to a dark roundtable discussion with voices that might ring familiar to you.
That little squirt took down that Heartless. Who'd have thought it? Such is the power of the Keyblade. The child's strength is not his own.
Okay, not that it was that big of a surprise, but the remaster's added resolution and lighting really gives away who these guys are. It's your favorite Disney villains being led by Sleeping Beauty's Maleficent. And as an added bonus, most of the original voice actors have reprised their roles here.
Why don't we turn him into a Heartless? That'll settle things quick enough.
Back at Traverse Town, we receive a few parting gifts. If you're playing the PS2 version, Leon and crew give Sora an absolutely pathetic 100 money, later raised to 500. We also gain the ability to interact with blue Trinity marks, which for now are just treasure chests with extra steps. Donald teaches us how to cast fire, and Goofy physically hands us a dodge roll. Thanks for that. But most important of all, Donald and Goofy will now follow us wherever we go, drastically increasing our survivability. Despite my brother and I trying back in the day, they cannot be controlled with a second controller, but we can vaguely influence how they behave in combat with this menu. How often do they attack, and how conservative are they with their MP and items? I always set Donald to use his defense magic constantly, and of course only use items in emergencies, and that's if I even choose to give him any in the first place. Still, it always feels rewarding to reach this part of the game. It's our first big milestone in progression. Not too long ago, we were alone, it was dark, Squall was being a jerk. The game really wants you to like Donald and Goofy. And I do. I've only known them for 5 minutes, but they are my ride or die. We've officially crossed the crust and made it to the meat of the game, exploring Disney worlds as a Final Fantasy party of 3. While we will be looking at every single one, I'm mostly concerned with highlights, at least from a story and gameplay perspective. Like, it's great that you can ring this doorbell 3 times in Halloween Town for some extra items, but this video just can't be 6 hours long. And we're gonna be going pretty light on the plots. They're all mostly self-contained, but do have elements that affect the overarching story, and that's what we're concerned with. Actually, there's one that certainly doesn't, but we're going to talk about it anyway because I love it. So what exactly is the plan here to find Riku, Kairi, and King Mickey? Well, it's about what you'd expect from these 3. Fly to random planets until we find them. You think at least Goofy, who ironically is the most sensible one, would speak up and say, "Do you guys know how big space is? On the bright side, our 2 new friends have the perfect tool for the job. The Gummi Ship. It's like the Final Fantasy airship, but much more delicious sounding. And it goes beyond just being a menu. In between worlds, you'll take your ship for an on-rails space shooter segment. Unfortunately, these are very far from being fantastic. Think Star Fox 64, but without the soul. They're a bit slow, repetitive, and visually generic. This could be just about any game. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you might think it's a Kirby game. Although, I truly think all of this is redeemed with the customization. I have poured hours into Gummi Ship making. It was like virtual Legos to me as a kid. Now, the customization is all optional. You can drive your default guy, which inherits the name of the Destiny Islands raft, all the way to the end. They're not difficult, just asking you to pay attention, just like driving in real life. But obviously this is something that the devs touted pretty highly and pushed people to enjoy. I mean, I feel every other chest I open has a gummy block in it. I recommend giving it a look. It's a good distraction and there is fun to be had, or just do the absolute bare minimum. There's not that many required gummy rides.
I'm late! I'm late! I'm late! Oh, the Queen! She'll have my head for sure!
If you're going by lowest battle level, the first world on the docket here is Wonderland, based off Disney's 1951 adaptation of this children's book that's 150 years old. Yeah, let's throw some chocobos in there. I'm a fan of the decision to put Alice in Wonderland's world at the front of the stack, and I'll tell you why. For starters, it's a classic. Everybody has been told, or at least is aware of, this story. And on top of that, it's one of the more palatable environments for having a duck, dog, and a boy running around. It's so so abstract that these three are some of the least weird things here.
This girl is the culprit. There's no doubt about it. And the reason is? Because I say so, that's why!
The objective of this world revolves around gathering evidence in order to clear Alice's name for the crimes of assaulting the Queen and attempt at theft of her heart. Crimes she obviously didn't commit.
Hey guys, we should help her out.
And with that line right there, you know how most of these worlds are gonna go. What about Riku, Kairi, and the King? Forget them. Let's use our time to help these strangers out. It's fine, I get it. Sora is the goodest of boys, he's young, and really only aware of what's right in front of him. While our trio is debating whether or not they should go and help, Goofy revisits something that was brought up between him and Donald earlier, and that is meddling.
We're outsiders, so wouldn't that be muddling? Oh yeah, and that's against the rules.
We're told it will upset the world order, but what does that mean? I've always seen it kind of like how in Back to the Future when Doc Brown explains to Marty the dangers of interacting with people from different times, but it doesn't matter because this rule is ignored at every turn and we see zero consequences for it.
Hold it right there!
Given what we know about the Heartless, Sora claims that he knows the culprit. This assumption doesn't fly because thankfully Wonderland has a quite progressive justice system, that in which requires we find some evidence to support our claim, and this is baked right into the gameplay. The more treasure chests containing evidence you find after this conversation, the easier the ensuing boss battle will be. Collect all 4 and you have an 80% chance of successfully prosecuting the Heartless with evidence. And you're only required to collect 1, so if you could care less about this whole thing, like, you can take your chances on the podium and still leave with the best outcome. And if you have a good enough eye to notice how fast the boxes fall, you can actually guarantee your pick. Not even the strategy guide mentions this. While all the citizens of Wonderland get the right to a trial, it's the Queen who has the final say. Regardless of what's shown as evidence, the Queen still calls for your head and sends her card army to attack you. This is actually one of the few times we fight a non-Heartless enemy, even though the real objective here is to destroy the Crank Tower. If you successfully pick the Heartless evidence, Donald and Goofy will join you. But if one or both of them were blamed, they'll sit the fight out in a cage, making it much more difficult. I absolutely love this whole sequence. It's not given a whole bunch of grandioseness, it's a lot of text boxes and everybody's got their JPEG faces on, but it differentiates the gameplay loop and exemplifies there are rewards for those who explore, while also tying in the world's theme of luck and randomness. Turns out that during the fight, Alice was stolen, and we are then told to find her by the Queen. What then ensues is more of your traditional KH1 progression. Explore until you find the cutscene. These worlds aren't typically very linear, and they usually fold onto themselves, especially Wonderland. You're turning this room up, down, and all around, and doing drug deals with these flowers to get big. It could be argued that the puzzles here are a bit too nonsensical for this early in the game. I'm fairly certain I got through this part guideless as a kid. I remember it taking me a while to figure out that you could just push this bed into the wall. Like, what is that? There's definitely hints in dialogue, like from the Cheshire Cat here, of where to go and what to do. But there are going to be times where this game just drops you in a brand new location and says, I don't know, you figure it out. And honestly, that feels really intentional, and I like it. No arrow, no fairy dust trail, no compass, just a boy, his dog, his duck, and his key. Eventually, you'll come face to face with the true culprit, this mess of a Heartless, the Trickmaster. I doubt Sora woke up this morning expecting to be shrunken down and dodging fireballs on a table from a deck of cards or whatever this is. Trickmaster's true weakness is this table and chair. Utilize them to gain height so you can smack him in the head. It's a solid early boss. If you don't utilize the table and chair, you will lose. And even better, Trick Boy starts to mix it up at the end. The table starts to spin, change positions, you gotta stay on your toes. Once he falls, we see the Keyblade strangely react to the keyhole inside the sentient door. We leave on kind of a bittersweet note as Alice is still missing, which shows you how much progress we made in terms of friend finding. Arrived wanting to find 3, left wanting to find 4. Great work so far, fellas. Hop back on the Gummi Ship and feel free to take a pit stop in Traverse Town where you can refuel on items, buy a new weapon for Donald or Goofy, and when ready, fly to the next world, the Olympus Coliseum. Or don't, it's completely optional. That's right, there is a small handful of worlds that you don't have to take a single step in and can still beat the game. But come on, it's Hercules, you gotta see the man himself, Hades, not Danny DeVito, and Cloud Strife. We knew he was gonna be somewhere. Is Vincent Valentine just tied up naked in a closet somewhere?
This here's the world-famous Coliseum, heroes only. And I got my hands full preparing for the games, so run along, pipsqueaks.
Now, I threw a jab earlier, but the Phil voice actor, Robert Costanzo, who also voiced Phil in the Hercules TV show, he does a fantastic job. One of my favorite roles in the entire series, really.
I gotta spruce this place up for the games.
James Woods reprises his role as Hades, which, I mean, incredible.
Oh, hey, hold on there, Fuzzboy. Wait, let me guess. You want to enter the games, right?
I mean, there's a reason why the Queen of Hearts wasn't sitting in on Maleficent's little coven there. Hades is easily a contender for my #1 Disney villain.
Well then, hey, get a load of this.
And then Sean Astin as Hercules. Samwise Gamgee? Say it ain't so.
Well, that's just something you'll have to find out for yourselves. Just the way that I did.
Sora and crew seem to have really lost track of their goal, as nobody even asks about Riku, Kairi, or the King. I mean, this world's only like 3 rooms, you think it'd be a pretty quick search. Still, the world is quite unique, as its story and what it offers in terms of gameplay are sort of ongoing throughout the length of the game. The more you progress, the more of these tournaments you unlock. Chip and Dale will even let you know when a new one opens up from the Gummi Map screen. These tournaments are just fighting waves of Heartless and a boss at the end. It's kind of like those Coliseum fights in Ratchet & Clank 2, but with breaks in between. It can get a little mindless, especially the 49-seed Hades Cup, but I think the strategy of sprinkling the content of this world throughout the length of the game really helps alleviate that. I mean, they even give you checkpoints every 10 seeds in the Hades Cup.
Hey, it's like that old goat says. Rule number 11. It's all just a game, so let loose and have fun with it! Jeez. Stiffer than the stiff's bag on.
Ah, that line's so good. So we're not gonna get the chance to fight Hades for a while. He's part of the evil Jedi Council, don't you know? First, we gotta prove ourselves to Phil by smacking these barrels and convince Cloud that perhaps working with Hades isn't such a good idea. This all culminates with a fight with Cerberus, and it is quite difficult, especially at this stage of the game. His attacks have very large hitboxes, and the window of opportunity to attack him risk-free is so small. I mean, the game is practically begging you to come back later. Go ahead, look, it's actually written on Donald and Goofy's corpses in the corner. And it's true, there are some really valuable rewards in the next world that will help with this, but as a kid, no man, that's the coward's way. I must have seen at least 25 game overs before I bested this boy.
Who invited you to the party? Stay out of this. This is my show.
I am absolutely here for any cross-world Disney villain commingling. It is really just Maleficent who does this, and it kind of comes off as her checking in with her direct reports for their one-on-ones. But I feel like that's exactly how Maleficent would operate, and it gives the Disney worlds a cohesive through line in terms of rising tension. The game builds her up as such a threat, and you know eventually she'll have to take matters into her own hands. Our final world in this initial set is Deep Jungle, based on Disney's Tarzan, which at the time was the latest big 2D Disney animated film, apart from direct-to-video sequels and The Emperor's New Groove.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
While the previous 2 worlds had a lot of elements from the films that they were based on in terms of plot, like Alice's trial or Hades schmoozing people, they still felt separate from their coinciding movies. It feels like we just drop in on the Olympus Coliseum on a regular day. I mean, Hercules is barely in it. And while the Disney Alice in Wonderland movie does have a trial, it's like at the very end, like the last 10 minutes of that movie. No walruses or carpenters in sight. Deep Jungle doesn't do that. It takes about 75% of the major plot beats from the film and shoves Sora, Donald, and Goofy to the sidelines to watch. Sure, there's a giant lizard Heartless that shows up, and some interesting foreshadowing in this overhead slide, but ultimately this world feels like a lot of running around to spectate something that you're not really a part of. Maybe this was due to the film being fresh, not having enough time to marinate in the public zeitgeist. Although I do think this world is redeemed by its B-plot. You see, right before arriving in Deep Jungle, Donald and Sora have a little spat over whether it's worth landing there at all. This leads to a crash landing, they get separated, and we get this dialogue from Sora.
Look, I got separated from my friends. Have you seen them?
Friends?
Right, my friends. There's two of them. The loud one is Donald.
Huh?
Know what? Never mind. I'm looking for my friends Riku and Kairi.
This little thread is fantastic, for one, because I think most people have found themselves in a similar situation, and two, it gives some autonomy to Donald and Goofy. They're their own characters with their own likes, dislikes, and goals. They don't have to travel with us. In a way, this is still a business trip where both parties have different objectives, but we know this boy, duck, and dog have already started to care for each other outside of that, and by the end of Deep Jungle here, that's really solidified.
A circus of clowns. Not much use for hunting gorillas.
Gosh, the blank faces are just especially bad in this world. Like, I get it's the PS2, and we've got so many worlds that we have to make so many scenes for, but when the animation wants to be good, it's really good.
Blasted gorillas! I'll hunt down every last one of them!
You see, I want to help them. Because, well, they need us.
On the gameplay side, the big standout feature in Deep Jungle is the fact that Tarzan can join the party. Now, a lot of the upcoming worlds will share this feature, but it's a bit of a double-edged sword as you have to get rid of Donald or Goofy and maintain a party size of 3. Now, just looking at Tarzan, you're like, yeah, of course I want him on my team. His biceps are like 3 times the size of Goofy's. The downside of adding a guest character is that you lose access to Trinity marks, which, I mean, you can always come back and get later, but it always seemed like such an arbitrary restriction. Like, and I know the real reason is they didn't want to animate Tarzan and Jack and Aladdin to all do these different animations, but it still feels like kind of a ridiculous compromise. Like, I would rather just have the animation not play at all and get the Trinity reward. Just for the sake of variety and the fact that the endgame requires a decent amount of backtracking, I suggest for the first visit you should use the guest character for a good part of it. Trust me, you've got plenty of time to spend with these two. Once you're done doing laps to and from the treehouse, swinging on these vines that only work half the time, falling in this hippo pond, you'll encounter one of the more infamous bosses, Clayton, Stealth Sneak, as it's referred to in the official guide. As a villain, I think Clayton's a bit underrated. Maybe he's not as outwardly evil as the villains that made it on the evil Jedi Council, but he's certainly no slouch in being prepared. He rolls up with a giant invisible heartless mount and the plan to shoot them with a gun. Yeah, we really should have brought Tarzan instead of Donald here. This is a pretty tough one. You got 2 targets, they both have ranged attacks, and the Stealth Sneak has a lot of HP. Keep at least 1 ally healthy so you can separate Clayton and the Lizard, and they should go down no problem. Yes, we finally obtained the Cure spell, which, by the way, this is how all spells are obtained and upgraded. You just do arbitrary things. No skill tree, no assigning points, it's just, oh, you talk to that guy, you save some puppies, now you can shoot lightning from your fingertips, or your keyblade. This world comes to a close with a small platforming segment up this waterfall cave, a location that is completely unique to the game if I'm not mistaken. Now, when there's no timer attached, I actually really enjoy the platforming in Kingdom Hearts. You do have to wrestle with the camera a bit, and Sora's collision box for when he's landing always feels more narrow than the animation indicates. The shoes are clearly just for show. But for a team that's been making RPGs for the last 15 years, pretty good job. We make our way to the top where we find a keyhole, and similar to what he did in Wonderland, Sora pulls out his keyblade and seals it, this time kind of on autopilot. Nobody really says anything, and it's all just kind of swept aside for this joke between Donald and the Rosie O'Donnell gorilla.
No, 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 no! This would kill me!
Yep, that's right. That's Donald considering bestiality, but only stops because he's married. We get a couple parting gifts before heading out of Deep Jungle, the ability to use red Trinity marks, as well as a new keychain, Jungle King. Now, after looking into it, there's a lot more to these new keyblades than meets the eye, or even the stat bonuses. Some will reach further, some block better, some will change the rate at which you get criticals, but above all, you want one that looks clean. Jungle King is, not my favorite, but by this point in the game, you've been with the Kingdom Key for quite a while, and my first time playing, I was super excited just to get something new.
Yes, the princesses.
They are falling into our hands, one by one.
We get another Evil Jedi Council cutscene here, and if you've completed the card battle in Wonderland, you'll see that they've captured Alice. And if not, you'll get Snow White instead. There's actually several alternate cutscenes all sprinkled throughout the game, a lot of which I was completely unaware of. If you want to see them all, I highly suggest Shady Riku's video where he's done a compilation. Back in the Gummi Ship, Goofy suggests that we go back to Leon to take a look at some gummy blocks that we found. This leads us to running errands for Leon, Sid, and Merlin, the Sword in the Stone Merlin. On this required second visit, Traverse Town itself feels much more traversable thanks to all the spells that you've learned. They're not just for combat. You can repower the Gizmo Shop with Thunder, blow out all the candles at this cafe with Blizzard. It makes you think of your Blizzard spell less of like a shotgun blast, even though it kind of is one, and more so like a cone of cold, like what other parts of the environment would react to being frozen. It all works to make the world feel more malleable.
Deep freeze!
Catching up with Leon, we get a chance to talk about what's been going on with these keyholes we've been finding everywhere. We learn that a world's keyhole leads to the heart of that world, and it is the goal of the Heartless to find and corrupt it. If they do, the fate of it becomes that of Sora's home, Destiny Islands. Now we're told the Keyblade is the only thing that can lock the door with the keyhole to prevent this from happening. Now obviously this is a huge responsibility added to Sora's list, and really recontextualizes a lot of those Destiny Island scenes with the robed man. Unfortunately, it's all told in text boxes, and I feel like that wasn't the right choice here. We should have gotten voice acting. It might help the facts here stick a little bit better. This is pretty foundational knowledge for how the universe in Kingdom Hearts works, and it steers a large part of our objective for the remainder of the game. So back to our errands, Sid has us deliver a book to Merlin, which is all a big cover to give Winnie the Pooh his own world. The 100-Acre Wood, and I find this world so extremely charming. I was always really embarrassed for liking this world as a kid, or even just the fact that it was in the game. Especially for a young boy, Winnie the Pooh is more juvenile than like Hercules and Tarzan.
It is rather funny what I will do for honey.
But I think there really is a gentle wisdom in Winnie the Pooh that appeals across generations. Quick story, I remember one day in 3rd grade, I had brought my Kingdom Hearts strategy guide to class, and my teacher, Mrs. Robin, she saw it and took it, and I remember for a good 30 seconds flipped through the pages of the strategy guide. And this woman, rest her soul, she's probably passed by now. She was 60 at the time. She didn't say anything, she just took it till the end of the day. But on top of being embarrassed, I wanted to know what she thought, and I still do to this day. She had to have seen Winnie the Pooh, but also Cloud and Squall and Yuffie. It's a core memory I'll always have with this game and with this world in particular.
Why do you bounce around so much, Tigger?
Why? 'Cause bouncing's what Tiggers do best!
So the 100-Acre Wood mainly centers around minigames, and it expands as you find more pages of the book scattered throughout other worlds. For the sake of pacing, we're just going to cover the whole thing right now, but it's likely you won't be able to complete it till you're near the end of the game. On top of the minigames, what makes this place unique is that there's no Heartless to fight, no keyhole to find, per se, and your attack command here changes to Hit. Sora takes on a role similar to that of Christopher Robin, assisting Pooh and his friends in these minigames, most of which were inspired by classic past Pooh adventures. As it happens, the Final Fantasies before this had a lot of minigames, so you could say it was just kind of Square's MO at the time. Unfortunately, I don't think any of these hold a candle to Chocobo Racing, Triple Triad, Blitzball. I'll give it that they're better than the jump roping in Final Fantasy IX. Although the music track that plays during the 100 Acre Wood minigames might just be my favorite track in the game. Non-vocal track, at least. If you had to connect one Disney property purely to minigames, Winnie the Pooh is a perfect fit. It's a property that everybody knows, and it's strictly G-rated.
Well, we all lived here in the 100 Acre Wood, and we'd take walks together, or play Pooh sticks.
Excuse me, what sticks? Personally, I am just here for the cutscenes and the atmosphere. Maybe it's the fact that we're in a far-off world, in a secret door, in a secret house, in a book, inside a forest. Like, even the IRS isn't gonna find you here. I'll spend time just looking at the background trees of Tigger's giant pot and imagining what it would be like to climb up one and spend the night there. And you know, back to what I said about this being overly juvenile, I think they've taken that into account. Sora treats Pooh, Piglet, Rabbit, Tigger, and the rest of them, you know, as if they're younger than him, even though Sora is, what is he, 14? Maybe I'm totally off base, but my latest time playing this world, I kind of took this as a metaphor of how a, you know, young teenager should treat a 5-year-old.
Why would I do that? We've only just met. Don't be scared. You're looking for Pooh, right?
I'm probably in the minority for liking this one so much because the minigames are nothing special, but the rest of the world truly is. So out of the book, back at Merlin's, you can do a few more things, like practice your magic on furniture, which wears thin very quickly, and you can turn in an item that Leon gave you to the fairy godmother and be gifted your first summon. Now these are obviously carried over from Final Fantasy as they're a staple there, but instead of summoning Ifrit, Shiva, and Bahamut, you'll be summoning Bambi, Mushu, and Simba. Big man Simba. Truth be told, I usually don't give these guys the time of day. With the exception of Tinkerbell, which you get way later, all the summons dismiss Donald and Goofy, turning the aggro towards Sora. And now that we have Cure, you know, MP is a hot commodity. Now, I'm no speedrunner or level 1 completionist. I'm aware there are several viable cases to use summons, but in most of my casual jaunts through this game, typically right after I get a summon, I give it a try right then and there, and never again.
There you are. What's going on?
Riku!
Hey, cut it out!
I'm not dreaming this time. Right?
I hope not. Took forever to find you.
That's right, a wild Riku appears. This is a legitimate surprise. It's the first time we've had contact with anyone from Destiny Islands after the Heartless world-ending incident. And even more so if you're not playing Final Mix because you would have missed out on this Riku scene, which I believe was added to help you sympathize with him more. As we learn in the next scene, he's being manipulated / groomed by Maleficent to join her Dark Legion of Disney villains. All on the basis that Sora has replaced him with Donald and Goofy?
Now he values them far more than he does you.
Well, there's more to it than that. The teenaged, angsty jealousy shtick kind of flares up again when Sora starts to show off his Keyblade.
Leave it to who?
Which, oddly enough, Riku's able to hold for a prolonged period of time. The game doesn't call a lot of attention to this, but a bit odd considering we saw it vanish from Leon's hand earlier.
Catch.
Just as quickly as he arrived, Riku disappears.
Oh well. At least he's okay. And who knows? Maybe we'll run into Kairi soon too.
Sora seems pretty unconcerned about it, but I guess he is a glass half full kind of boy. To cap off our second visit to Traverse Town, we get the usual info and lore dump from Leon and crew. They've caught wind that Maleficent is around, which is ironic considering she's literally right outside the window with Riku at the very moment. She was the reason they were forced out of their original world 9 years ago. A world that was previously ruled by a man named Ansem, the same Ansem Aerith was telling Donald and Goofy about a while back. This is the kind of stuff you just glaze over your first time around, especially if you're a kid. What's way more exciting is the new worlds we've unlocked and Sid giving us a warp gummy. No longer are you required to fly every adjacent route to worlds you've already visited. You also have the option of sealing Traverse Town's keyhole by ringing this bell, Dark Souls style, and fighting an upside down guard armor, or you can save all that for later and go hang out with Aladdin and Genie in Agrabah.
Thanks.
Agrabah's a big one, and we get to see a lot of it. I think every single major set piece from the movie apart from inside the palace. You've got Aladdin's house, the city market, the desert, and the Cave of Wonders, of course. In terms of translating the movie into the design of a Kingdom Hearts world, I think they've done a great job on divvying up their resources, i.e. putting most of them into the Cave of Wonders. That being said, I wouldn't have said no to a more populated Agrabah market. There's a handful of recolored NPCs that'll show up briefly once you're finished with the world, including Albed Waka. But I feel maybe a peaceful, no heartless market area like you see in the movie could have helped the city of Agrabah feel less like a ghost town. Come on, they even got Agrabahs walking around in that Disney Channel Kingdom Hearts cartoon that never saw the light of day.
I'm gonna talk from magician to His Majesty King Mickey.
Unlike Deep Jungle, where a lot of our objectives were like, find some gorillas, chase Clayton, make Donald not mad at you, the narrative in Agrabah feels much more closely tied to the overall plot. Our big bad Jafar is actively seeking the keyhole just like us.
The Heartless are searching for it now. I'm certain we'll find it soon enough.
And everybody seems to be after Princess Jasmine, who ties into this princess kidnapping plot we've been hearing whispers of.
We need all 7 princesses of heart to open the final door. Any fewer is useless.
If the princess is that important, we'll find her.
Sora and crew team up with Aladdin, sharing the common enemy of Jafar, who will lead to both Jasmine and the keyhole. Both sides are fully aware of what's at stake and are actively pursuing it, which makes it kind of a bummer that the 4 bosses here are all a bit underwhelming. I'll give them this, they're all distinct from each other and from other bosses. You have Pot Centipede, a bunch of small weak enemies become a large formidable enemy. Fighting the actual Cave of Wonders, cool concept, awkwardly executed. Most of the time you're just trying and failing to jump up his neck rolls. Regular Jafar is probably the best. It's a lot of cat and mouse, running to get a few hits on Jafar while avoiding Genie. If you're getting hit a lot but not able to hit Jafar back, you're gonna run into MP regeneration problems. And as you should know by now, hitting stuff equals MP equals cure, the most important spell in the game. I mean, it was the only spell that got applause from the studio audience. This fight can be a bit tedious having to chase Jafar back and forth, but I feel like this is exactly how he would fight. Oh, and inserting Genie into the battle, where he's like pulling his punches and saying these voice lines, I mean, that's such a good melding of a character moment into gameplay.
Hey, get out of the way! Please let me
Betrayal. Genie Jafar, on the other hand, I find to be more of a gimmick. Just like in the movie, he does have phenomenal cosmic powers. You can't attack him, but is confined by his lamp, which just so happens to be his weak point. Now, perhaps there could have been a cool puzzle element added to figure this out. And hey, if you remember this part of the movie, you already have a step up on people who don't. Unfortunately, it's just said outright at the start of the fight, so in actuality, it's very brain dead, and you're just battering on Iago, who's carrying the lamp, while Jafar throws these giant boulders in slow motion at you. I do like the magma Tetris board this takes place at, though.
Okay, Jafar, back to your lamp.
Taking down Jafar still feels like a huge win. It's our first murdering of someone on the evil Disney Jedi Council. It gives the impression that we've really started to stick our hand in the machine, stop some gears, and become a serious player in this plot. Following the fight, we have a short gameplay segment escaping the Cave of Wonders on carpet, which is cool and echoes a great scene from the movie. Hilariously, you don't have to touch the controller a single time to complete this. Sonic 06, anyone? Back at Aladdin's house, Aladdin fulfills his promise and frees Genie with his third wish, and then immediately enslaves him to us as our summon. Genie's animation, man, it is really good. It is nowhere near the Disney movie, but they are trying. And it's no surprise that there was a good amount of knowledge transfers from the Disney animators to the Square ones to make this happen.
Disney offered a class for a day. We learned the basics of how a Disney film is made. After that, I watched tons of videos since each movie has a different feel. I was watching nothing but Disney videos for 6 months. I studied the characteristics of each character and then delivered them into the game.
And I think that's really displayed beautifully in how well they animated the characters in 3D. They move just like they're 2D animated in a lot of ways. And so those chalk talks I think really paid off.
Now, there's still a lot of those stiffer lip flap scenes, but like I said, when the effort and the money is there, it's hard to believe this came out in 2002. Our next destination is a bit different. After you seal Agrabah's keyhole and attempt to fly to one of the next two worlds, you'll be swallowed by Monstro from Pinocchio. How did Monstro become a living, thriving space whale and not succumb to the same fate as Wilsiak? We'll never know. On my recent rewatch of Disney's Pinocchio, the 1950s one, not the Tom Hanks 2022 one, I was a little shocked to see Monstro the whale is only in the last bit of the movie, and it's an in-and-out adventure. Here, Sora and the gang spend the entire runtime of that movie exploring Monstro's lower intestine. Or at least that's what it felt like in 2002. We spoke on it in Wonderland a bit, but like many areas in this game, they are designed to make the player get lost a little bit. This was 100% Nomura's intention. I mean, what's an adventure if you don't get lost every now and again?
People just asked me questions about Aladdin yesterday, like, where should I go, or I can't open one of the doors, etc. There are always hints hidden somewhere in the game. I personally don't like including conversation that is totally irrelevant to the story or interrupts the flow of the game.
So if you get lost, you do what you do in real life. Ask for help, or I guess nowadays you just Google it. Navigating the different chambers inside of Monstro can be a chore as they all look very similar. Talk to Geppetto though, and he'll let you know that entrances with green heartless above them will lead you deeper inside of Monstro. But you might not want to deal with any of this. Because Monstro isn't technically a world, there is no keyhole here, so in reality, 99% of it is optional. All you're really required to do is get to the first save point you see and warp out of there, leaving Geppetto and his fish for dead. Although you might want to stay because Monstro contains one of the more useful abilities in the game, our first shared ability, high jump. Everybody gets to jump higher. It's a much bigger deal than what it sounds like.
Pinocchio, stop f***ing around. This is no time for games.
But Sora, I thought you liked games. Or are you too cool to play them now that you have the Keyblade?
Another wild Riku appears who drives most of the plot, separating Pinocchio from Geppetto. Sora starts to understand that Riku's allegiance is much more ambiguous than what he thought. He talks some smack, yet steps in to help during a boss fight, and he seems to have some dubious intentions with Pinocchio.
I have some unfinished business with this puppet.
Oh yeah, and Jiminy Cricket is here, or has been here. Jiminy was actually included in the Donald and Goofy package deal. He doesn't properly introduce himself to Sora in Traverse Town. He's just standing a few feet away and is like, yep, I'll sure write in my journal, I will. Here in Monstro, he does have some dialogue with Geppetto and Pinocchio, but his primary role is the adventure stenographer. Maybe it's some kind of like passive payback, but it is a bit rude that Sora never introduces him alongside Donald and Goofy when they're visiting these Disney worlds. Kill Parasite Cage, rescue Pinocchio, and Gummi Ship out of there, leaving Geppetto to unfortunately perish. I'm just kidding, they move into Traverse Town actually. And as a matter of fact, it's a good time for us to go back to Traverse Town too. The fairy godmother has a new summon for us, Dumbo. The synthesis shop is now accessible, and being that we should have learned the base level of all the spells by now, Merlin has a new Keyblade for us, Spellbinder, which is actually my personal favorite in terms of design. Also, could be a good idea to use that warp gummy and hit up the Olympus Coliseum for a new tournament, and when you are ready to move forward, head to our next new world, Atlantica. Yeah, this one's going to be a little different. While Nomura was very adamant about not wanting to accommodate Final Fantasy character designs to fit into a more Disney-friendly mold, he had no reservations about Sora. And you know, if you're going to adapt The Little Mermaid, you gotta do it right. Let our boys explore Atlantica as well as its surrounding waters. To do that, we have Merman Sora, Doc Ock Dolan, and Sea Turtle Goof. You think Jiminy's like a clownfish under there? While it's clear why this decision was made from a design standpoint, there's no real in-game explanation for why our heroes undergo these changes other than it's magic, I guess. And sure, I can roll with that. What's harder to ignore is how much it neuters our combat options. While you do keep your magic, passive abilities, and gain a larger Y-axis, you lose dodge roll, sonic blade, slapshot, stun impact, sliding dash. Basically, as far as the Keyblade goes, you're back to your plain old 3-piece chicken McNugget. And you really feel it. These jellyfish heartless, these big ones, they are just gluttons for punishment. More often than not, I'm just gonna run or swim away from battles here. For those who find it to be that much of a turnoff, this world is optional, so, you know, there's the door.
They do seem a little different. Where are you from?
We're from kind of far away. And we're not really used to these waters,
In terms of the source material theme, I don't know if there was ever a better property to insert into Kingdom Hearts 1 than The Little Mermaid. It's only natural somebody like Ariel, who is longing to see what else is outside of their home, would gravitate towards Sora, Donald, and Goofy.
You wish to see other worlds. That shouldn't be too hard. After all, your new friends came from another world.
What?
But they had special help. That mysterious key.
As with Agrabah, the film's original plot remains largely intact, with the keyhole integrated as the central motivation for Ursula, our villain. There's no voice stealing, no Prince Eric, no Scuttle, and unfortunately no Crab Chef. It's streamlined, it's clean, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy feel like part of the story. The big twist here is that King Triton rebuffs our help against the Heartless. Turns out he's not only knowledgeable of other worlds, but also keyholes, keyblades, and their wielders.
You're not from another ocean. You're from another world, aren't you?
Huh?
Then you must be the key bearer.
How did you know?
I guess it's not immensely shocking that Triton would know. He's not the first person that we've ran across that's known more than us. What's interesting is that he indirectly suggests that there's been past Keyblade wielders, and that the Keyblade itself hasn't always been used for good.
The key bearer shatters peace and brings ruin. There is no room in my ocean for you or your key.
It's not overdone, it's certainly within the bounds of King Triton's character, someone who's overly fond of rules and boundaries, but just enough to get you thinking. How old is the Keyblade? Who else has wielded it? What past event gave Triton this impression?
Daddy, no!
Daddy, yes!
The world ends with these two Ursula fights, Small and Big Ursula. Small Ursula fights alongside Flotsam and Jetsam and is only vulnerable when you cast magic on her cauldron. I always misremember this, but I want to correlate the color of the cauldron with the spell that I'm supposed to cast. I mean, that's how this usually works in like every Final Fantasy game. And the feedback for actually hitting the cauldron isn't very good. Your spells are supposed to bounce off and go to her, but sometimes they don't. I think when the spell... I don't know, I just have a really hard time reading the visual cues of what is going on. Maybe I'm dumb. And don't forget your ethers, because you're going to need a ton of MP, otherwise you're going to be smacking Flotsam and Jetsam for half an hour. Now, this could be a hot take, but I really like the big Ursula fight. You're still stripped of all your combat abilities, but right before you get the Atlantica exclusive shared ability Mermaid Kick. It's like a movement toggle where you swim faster, but have far less influence on your turning. Along with now being able to traverse Atlantica more quickly, it turns the big Ursula fight into this like swim in, get some hits, swim out loop, all while you're dodging a barrage of Ursula attacks that are hooked up to audio and visual cues.
This won't be pretty, Goofy!
It's tough and can be kind of brutal on higher difficulties. Atlantica comes to a close as Triton freely reveals the keyhole inside of Ariel's grotto. Do not take that out of context. Next up is Halloween Town.
Allow me to introduce the Master of Terror, the King of Nightmares, Jack Skellington!
Yet another optional world, Halloween Town is probably the most out of left field pick. Even at the film's initial release in 1993, Disney wanted to distance themselves from it, releasing it under a different label. And it's probably not too hard to see why. I mean, hindsight 2020, the film did go on to receive critical acclaim and cement itself into the public unconscious, but at the time, stop motion was on its way out and its darker tone was seen as a potential turnoff for children. Now, obviously they chose to integrate Nightmare Before Christmas into the same visual style the rest of the game has, but how wild would it have been if they would have tried to emulate the stop motion style? Not saying the final product doesn't look spectacular. The point is, you arrive in the world and you don't say, oh, that looks a little off, or oh, that doesn't fit with Nightmare Before Christmas.
Bravo, Jack! Bravo!
I don't have any proof, but I think the reason as to why it was chosen for Kingdom Hearts is because of how well the Heartless fit in. I mean, you can barely see them sometimes here. This world is unique in the fact that its denizens, all three of them, actually view the Heartless as a net positive, seeing them as helpful additions to their Halloween festivities.
Those ghosts will be a big hit at this year's Halloween!
While the Heartless might fit, the bright colors that Sora, Donald, and Goofy bring, not so much. Yet again, some unspoken force has changed their appearance, this time giving them Halloween costumes. And I mean, yeah, they look good, they blend in well. It's just a shame that everybody's Keyblade by the time they get here is going to be that Atlantica one.
What's this Heartless doing here?
Oh, the Heartless came to town just recently. What's frustrating is I can't get them to dance with me.
I also wanted to point out how many good jokes come from this world, primarily from our antagonist, Oogie Boogie.
Ooh, when I get my hands on that, well, I've got no hands. Oh, Heartless! This is it? Nobody disrespects me!
Major props to the writers and localization team, and this extends to the rest of the game, but having so much Disney DNA and Final Fantasy DNA, it should exhibit a lot of humor. And sure, some of it's gonna be unintentional, but never fourth wall breaking, never laughing at itself. This whole thing only works if it takes itself seriously. The second we start winking to the camera and showing Pooh and Sephiroth on screen at the same time, that's when the foundation of Kingdom Hearts crumbles.
Jack! We have a major crisis!
It's no wonder a lot of Square employees cite Halloween Town as their favorite world. On top of the visuals, it puts a clever twist on the original film's theme. Instead of trying to make sense of Christmas, the cast is focused on understanding the makings of a heart. This idea gets gamified into fetching components for Dr. Finkelstein's artificial heart that ends up being stolen by Lock, Shock, and Barrel working for Oogie Boogie. Same general end goal of the movie, just a different way of getting there. Oogie's Manor is easily the highlight of this world. It received a much needed overhaul compared to its appearance in the movie. This version does a far better job of reflecting Oogie's twisted, over-the-top personality. It's not a very utilitarian design. You can fall off, combat can be kind of difficult, but the amount of detail and little secrets hidden around, it's great. Except, of course, for the missable Red Trinity Mark of Doom. If you're playing Final Mix, you have nothing to worry about, but on the original PS2, yeah, you can permanently miss a Red Trinity here.
You want it? Well then come on over and get it!
Now, the Oogie Manor fight at the end was an original creation, but the prior roulette wheel fight is pretty much ripped directly from the movie. I'm so excited. It is a wait to hit 'em fight, but how much waiting is skill dependent here. And most important, the fight doesn't sacrifice the character. This is how he fights. He lets his funhouse do the dirty work. The other two bosses are less interesting. Lock, Shock, and Barrel is fun, but I think way too claustrophobic. Oogie's Manor is a boss fight with a big dose of platforming, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense thematically. I mean, it's not from the source material, and when you beat it, it blows up and it's gone for good. One of the coolest areas in the game. And upon revisit, nothing replaces it. It's just a big open field. Maybe that's why I like Oogie's Manor so much, because it's temporary, because I know that climb up is gonna be the last every playthrough. Keyhole was in the moon. Who was gonna look there? I love the flavor text when your gravity spell upgrades attained the power of stars. It could just be a botched translation, but it sounds so cool. Our next destination is the final featured Disney World, and what better setting than aboard the legendary vessel of one of the most iconic Disney villains in the league, Captain James Hook.
Not so fast! No shenanigans aboard my vessel, boy!
In typical pirate fashion, our Gummi Ship is boarded by the Jolly Roger in space, which raises the question, where did all this water come from? This world is also labeled as Neverland, but we never actually set foot on any land. We do pay a visit to Big Ben in London later, but that just discredits the name Neverland even more. Don't think too hard about it, because this world is all substance, no frills, no bloat, pure juicy content in both story and gameplay. Just to get it out of the way, my only true criticism is this is where the camera is at its worst. Like, having it on the right stick in Final Mix is a blessing, but good God, it's just not dynamic enough to handle these tight cabins and 90-degree turns. The saving grace is there's very little travel time. It's mostly just cutscenes and 2 really good boss fights. 3 if you count this guy.
I didn't think you'd come, Sora. Good to see you again.
Well, where are Donald and Goofy?
Riku's back and up to his usual antics, but this time he has an ace up his sleeve.
Instead of worrying about them, you should be asking about her.
Kairi!
Riku dangles a sort of conked out looking Kairi in front of Sora, who hasn't seen her since the island, if we're not counting hallucinations. Riku takes charge as the primary villain for the first half of Neverland, with the intentions of finding Kairi's lost heart. And if there was ever a Disney villain that was gonna get usurped by a 15-year-old boy on his home turf, it would be Captain Hook.
And keep Sora away from Kairi until we're ready to land.
That scurvy brat thinks he can order me around.
Sora, Donald, and Goofy are thrown in the brig, where they then find and team up with Peter Pan, which, hey, he's also trying to rescue a girl trapped on the ship.
Who are you?
I'm the answer to your prayers.
Donald Duck don't pray. Oh yeah, and we get the ability to fly here. Goofy, as per usual, asks the question that's on everybody's mind.
So, how come you can fly?
That's my favorite Goofy line. Flying is really cool. The control scheme and your combat options are similar to swimming, but as far as movement goes, you accelerate much more quickly. And obviously you can land if there is land there. Another element thrown into the mix is this anti-Sora that will follow you throughout the ship. He's a product of Riku's new darkness powers that were bestowed upon him by Maleficent. Now at first glance, this might seem like a bit of homework copying from a certain other game. And hey, I mean, it probably is, but the reason it leans as a positive addition for me is because it draws a parallel to the film where Peter Pan loses his shadow. Now, they probably could have taken a Jungian turn with this, although from what we see, Anti-Sora is there more so just to have another boss fight.
So, which will it be? The Keyblade or the plank?
Now, the real theme or moral this world communicates is that if you believe, you can do anything, which is perfectly fine. It's a theme from the source material, but it feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity not to incorporate the film's main theme, what Peter Pan the character and Neverland the place represent, the allure and bittersweet nature of childhood. Kingdom Hearts parades and values the sense of wonder, freedom, and other stuff found when you're a kid, and maybe taking a portion of it into adulthood might not be a bad idea. But like with everything, there needs to be a balance. And Neverland could have been a really good vehicle to exemplify that. It is just a thought. This world is already so well packaged that adding an additional story component would likely just bog it down.
It really flew. Wait till I tell Kairi. I wonder if she'll believe me. Probably not.
Captain Hook is another great fight. Look at him, he's got those Wile E. Coyote powers. Afterwards, we take a surprisingly fast flight to London, where we then seal another keyhole. I've always found this part of the game extremely surreal. There's just something about the visuals, the music, everything just culminates to make this perfect Kingdom Hearts moment. I get goosebumps from it, and you don't really have an objective here. The game just gives you the ability to fly in this wide open space with Big Ben. It's really hard to explain. I just get this really intense feeling of elation every single time, and for that reason, it is my favorite part of the game. It is my favorite room in the game, and I would consider Neverland the best world if it wasn't for the next one. But before we get to that, there is a required pit stop in Traverse Town, which is a good opportunity to unpack some of the stuff I've been ignoring. Questions like, what exactly is a heart, and do I really need to read these 4 Ansem reports that we've collected? As far as the Ansem reports go, not really. Most of what's in them lines up with Leon's description of the ruler/scientist. There's some cool little details, like this Ansem was the one who named the Heartless, and apparently he has made contact with a certain king.
They are multiplying underground even as I write this report. They still need a name. Those who lack hearts, I will call them the Heartless. Today I had a guest from another world. He is a king and his vessel is built of the material that composed the meteors. He called the pieces gummy blocks. It seemed that my opening the door has opened a path to interworld travel. We talked for countless hours, but one story in particular caught my interest, that of a key called the Keyblade. The Keyblade is said to hold phenomenal power. One legend says its wielder saved the world, while another says that he wrought chaos and ruin upon it. I must know what this keyblade is. A key opens doors. It must be connected to the door I have opened.
Just seems to be a curious mind. Who knows if we'll run across him, but according to Leon's crew, the full report holds the secret to ending the Heartless.
How can you be so cheerful? There's still no sign of your king. Aren't you worried?
While we got some good hints in Neverland, the question of what exactly constitutes a heart is still open. Traditionally, in the symbolic sense, having a lot of heart means one who has a lot of courage, passion, or determination. At this point, Kingdom Hearts hasn't spelled it out, but has given plenty of context clues that hearts are more than that. They are everything that makes someone themselves except for the body. What we think of as a soul might be the closest direct comparison. It's not perfect, as there is still a clear connection to willpower or an inner drive, as some hearts are described as being stronger than others. Now, yes, I know, we've started to enter the deep end, but there's no going back. We're doing this. I want to quickly introduce German philosopher Martin Heidegger. Heidegger theorized two methods of thinking: meditative and computational thinking. Meditative being non-linear, not trying to solve a problem, open-ended and passive. Computational being structured, goal-oriented, logical. Kingdom Hearts encourages its players to do both of these when trying to understand its world and narrative. A lot of the time, the game is asking you to derive your own meaning and answers to things, and at others, there is a clear breadcrumb trail to follow. I bring this all up in preparation for the endgame, which I like to mark by the scene during our pit stop where Sora goes into this daze and sees Kairi's grandmother from Kairi's perspective. In hindsight, I think it shows a lot of parallels to the lion turtle scene from Avatar: The Last Airbender. First time, your eyes are really going to glaze over. We're talking about a lot of abstract concepts like the birth of darkness, its relationship with light. The point is to let it wash over you, not draw an objective line from A to B. Like, this isn't the same storytelling that you'd get from The Last of Us. And I love The Last of Us.
Huh? Kairi? Did you call me?
Before embarking to the new world, I highly recommend stopping by Olympus Coliseum to complete the Hercules Cup. There's a lot of really good prizes to be gained, and afterwards you can finally seal the keyhole there. But when you're good and ready, fire up the Gummi Ship and set a course for Hollow Bastion. This world has been foreshadowed the entire game. Being that there have been so few completely original worlds, in a way, the devs have been able to save a lot of their creative efforts for this. And it shows almost immediately. I mean, did you see that establishing shot? It's amazing. And that music track.
This is where Mozart would be jumping out of his grave and saying, I want to live in this century.
It's dark, mysterious, and lonely, but holds a certain glimmer of hope. I've held off on mentioning Kingdom Hearts' composer, Yoko Shimomura, simply because I wanted to introduce her alongside what I believe is her best work on the soundtrack. Unlike the premier Final Fantasy composer at the time, Nobuo Uematsu, Yoko was classically trained and had already built up quite a prestige in the industry, having composed a vast majority of Street Fighter II's OST for Capcom. While she would insert some Disney tracks like Under the Sea and This Is Halloween, her original tracks like Hollow Bastion, Traverse Town, Scherzo di Notte all show her versatility as well as the immense amount of talent she has.
My main concern is the flow of the music. There are 76 tracks, which is more than usual. I usually use 50 to 60 tracks. We used the full 100-piece orchestra to record the theme song. I think a lot more people participated in this music process compared to our usual work.
At this point, our trio's become pretty decked out with spells and abilities. Sora's able to spew out all kinds of lasers from his Keyblade, Goofy's HP bar can nearly wrap around his character portrait, and Donald, well, he sure is there to cast Arrow, which is actually really good, don't neglect using it. And we've retained a little bit of our flight from Neverland as the whole party's able to glide now, at least until they take a shower and the pixie dust washes out. All this power has been stacking towards something big, and another confrontation with Riku has become inevitable, especially after the shenanigans he pulled in Neverland. And would you look at that, he's waiting for us right as we crest Niagara Falls here.
You finally made it. About time. I've been waiting for you.
So remember a while back when we were talking about the Keyblade and how it's sort of sentient, has a mind of its own? Well, that comes into play as Riku asks it to reconsider its master. At this point, we already know that the Keyblade isn't good nor evil. It doesn't care that Riku's been working with the evil Jedi Council, that he captured Pinocchio, that he set a dark link on his best friend. It recognizes that he would use any means to rescue Kairi.
Maleficent was right. You don't have what it takes to save Kairi. It's up to me.
But that's impossible. How did this happen? I'm the one who fought my way here with the Keyblade.
You were just the delivery boy. Here, go play hero with this.
Goofy, let's go. We have to remember our mission.
Oh, well, I know the king told us to follow the key and all, but...
Sorry.
I mean, talk about a gut punch. At its foundation, the Sora, Donald, Goofy trio was formed on a business venture. But we know it's more than that, and it's devastating to see them follow Riku. This event and those that follow it in this world have always struck a chord with me. This is where we really get to see Sora's character shine through. After he's been robbed, betrayed, abandoned, the first thing he does is go to offer help to Beast from Beauty and the Beast, who's kind of been awkwardly watching.
Hey, don't move! You're hurt!
Why did you come here?
He's looking for Belle, we're looking for Kairi, and for Riku's blood. An alliance makes sense, but we're not bringing that much to the table. While we still have our magic, we're stuck with this wooden sword that Riku gave us, which I find pretty funny that Riku kept all this time. I'm also assuming that Jiminy is still with us. I mean, we're still able to check the journal, so he must have stuck around. This is obviously a heavy scene, and the consequences of it manifest in gameplay. The wooden sword is just as useless against Heartless as it was on Destiny Islands, and your combat party of 3 is now like 1.5. On the bright side, Beast is probably one of the best companion characters in the game. He's an absolute menace to the Heartless and a tank when it comes to endurance. He'll mainly serve as our bodyguard as we work to solve these puzzles to get inside the castle. It starts with some switch flipping, and once you get inside, you have this Resident Evil puzzle that coincides with you playing Librarian. Now, Hollow Bastion is big, huge you might say, and navigation can be intimidating, but for the most part, the world is fairly linear. There is required backtracking every now and again, but it's made manageable because of how distinct each area feels from one another. And major props to the artists and designers, as this world is breathtaking. It's like the ultimate evil Disney castle with a touch of steampunk thrown in.
Quit while you can.
No, not without Kairi.
The darkness will destroy you.
You're wrong, Riku. The darkness may destroy my body, but it can't touch my heart. My heart will stay with my friends. It'll never die.
Really? Well, we'll just see about that.
Alright, I want you to pay attention. Look where Goofy is right now. And there he is.
Sora ain't gonna go anywhere.
Of course, Donald and Goofy aren't gonna leave us, not after all we've been through. This scene is endearing, it's funny, and has gameplay implications. Our friends are back, and we're finally given the chance to smack Riku. But first...
Although my heart may be weak, it's not alone. It's grown with each new experience, and it's found a home with all the friends I've made. I've become part of their heart just as they've become a part of mine. And if they think of me now and then, if they don't forget me, then our hearts will be one. I don't need a weapon. My friends are my power.
Oh, and there it is. Power of friendship. You can extract a lot more tropes out of that, like if you're nothing without the suit, you don't deserve it. Success has more to do with contacts than competence. In all seriousness, this is a brilliant scene. It's probably my favorite scene. Sora is inadvertently making his case to the Keyblade why it should choose him instead. And it does, and we fight Hula Skirt Riku. He goes down, scampers off, and later we get a scene of him speaking to a familiar face, or a familiar robe.
You're saying my heart's weaker than his?
For that instant it was. However, you can become stronger.
Is that Billy Zane I hear? Well, it's been a minute, but he's just as aroused by darkness as he ever was. He takes on a very Emperor Palpatine role here, coaxing Riku further into the darkness.
What should I do?
It's really quite simple. Open yourself to the darkness.
Now, Nomura had originally intended for Maleficent to be the primary antagonist of Kingdom Hearts. She would be the final boss. And it was looking like that was going to be the case until about a minute ago. Before we unpack this, and so you understand where I'm going, it's important to give a little bit of history. During creation of the narrative, Nomura was very cognizant of Disney's younger target audience, so having a more simple and straightforward story made sense. It wasn't until executive producer Hironobu Sakaguchi, essentially the father of Final Fantasy, told Nomura that if they went that direction, the project would fail. They needed to aim for a Final Fantasy level narrative. Sakaguchi wanted more abstraction, to leave things open-ended, introduce twists. Nomura would oblige, and yeah, that's why the game isn't over after we kill Maleficent here.
You poor, simple fools. You think you can defeat me? Me, the mistress of all evil!
Okay, fighting Maleficent on the floating rock is kinda lame. Like, I understand. Much like Jafar, it'd be weird if she was doing backflips and stuff. Thankfully, this is just an appetizer as Maleficent takes her dragon form shortly after. All thanks to a Billy Zane-possessed Riku, who is now wielding a Keyblade of his own.
Yes, a Keyblade. But unlike yours, this Keyblade holds the power to unlock people's hearts. Allow me to demonstrate. Behold!
I'm sure those of you who grew up with the PS2 version know this cutscene quite well. Cutscenes were non-skippable back then, and this boss took many people many tries. The fire breath, the constant gargantuan shockwaves, and the head being a moving target all contribute to this boss's difficulty. The official guide suggests getting on her back and using Strike Raid. I agree with getting on the back part, but I've never gotten Strike Raid to work great for me. She's always squirming around too much. I suggest loading up on Ethers, Elixirs, Mega Elixirs, use Glide, use the back, conserve your MP, try to go in for a hit when you can, and just hope for the best. After, Billy Riku Zane talks some more trash, leaving us to make our way through the rest of the castle, where we then find a room with the 6 missing princesses, as well as...
Kairi!
That girl has lost her heart. She cannot wake up. The keyhole cannot be completed, so long as the last princess of heart still sleeps.
So we get a few revelations here. It wasn't Wendy, but Kairi, the last princess needed to open the door to the heart of all worlds. And I guess the keyhole to Hollow Bastion, I'm not sure why it's different from the others. The only issue being that Kairi is still missing her heart. Cue the next revelation.
It has been there all along. Kairi's heart rests within you.
Kairi's inside me?
So you remember that scene on Destiny Islands when Kairi phased through Sora? That was her heart, or soul if you want to think about it that way, going inside of him. The grandma flashback, all the Kairi hallucinations, all because of this. And I'm sure people have figured this out by now, but Hollow Bastion was Kairi's original home. It wasn't Sora that found this place familiar, it was the part of Kairi inside of him that did. Is this something you're going to be able to figure out beforehand? No. Does the game explicitly share with you the fact that hearts are able to physically reside within others? No. Is this scene entertaining and great to eat popcorn to? Yes. Ultimately, it lands for me, because at its heart, it's a powerful and fitting metaphor for caring about someone even when they're far away. Okay, one last revelation and then we get to the big fight, promise.
Tell me, who are you?
It is I, Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness.
Billy Riku Zane isn't Riku or Billy Zane at all, rather Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, the one with the journal, the heartless researcher, the ruler of Hollow Bastion. So we have a fight with him, and admittedly this fight is more spectacle than substance. The previous fight in the foyer, we were actually fighting Riku. There was a lot of anticipation for it, and we defeated him physically as well as philosophically. Here, sure, we're fighting Riku's body with a Keyblade, but it's really Ansem. And first timers, you might not remember the name Ansem. He was brought up in one voiced cutscene like 12 hours ago.
Ansem?
It's kind of funny, as far as Final Fantasy goes, this is nothing new. And it's not like he comes completely out of nowhere. On top of the reports and voice cutscene with Aerith, he is only mentioned a total of 3 times in text dialogue, but if you're above the age of like 13 and have ever seen a movie before, the context in which they talk about him, you know he's going to show up. It might have been obvious to you that he was robed bagman here. The reveal gets a mixed reception, and while I do enjoy the character/narrative context around the Riku Foyer fight more, this fight is easily superior in every single way. Best fight in the game. The setting, the music, the difficulty is well tuned. Whether or not you win is super dependent on your positioning and your timing. You can't just overlevel and mash through it. I always keep a save right before, so that way I can always go back and replay it, and you best believe I brought the Lady Luck Keyblade to fight him with. I am still Team Olympia over Metal Chocobo, just thought I'd switch it up for this playthrough.
A Keyblade that unlocks people's hearts. I wonder.
After a defeated Ansem, Riku teleports away, Sora gets an idea on how to restore Kairi's heart. And yeah, it's do exactly what Ansem Riku was gonna do to him anyway. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this other Keyblade. It could have had more build-up, and its powers could be more well-defined. I mean, we saw it turn a woman into a dragon not an hour ago. Sora's taking a pretty big risk committing seppuku here, but it works because it's within his character. We get this great moment of Donald screaming his name, running towards him as he fades into sparkles. Kairi finally wakes up and we get our first look at the real Ansem, Seeker of Darkness.
So, you have awakened at last, princess.
Tall, dark, and handsome. Riku, who still has some influence over the body, holds him back as Kairi, Donald, and Goofy escape. And then the camera lingers on this one little Heartless, and suddenly we're in control of it. That's right, Sora has been made a Heartless, and there wasn't one clumsy line of dialogue or stupid tutorial message telling you how to move him around. The game's just like, alright, here you go, do something. And it's short and sweet. All you gotta do is go down a couple flights of stairs, hug Kairi, and you're Sora again. I know we just had a discussion on how it can be good to just let these moments wash over you, and for the most part, I really like this sequence. I think it does work, but you can feel the fabric of Nomura's world building start to stretch here. And to be completely fair to the game, I think I'm saying that in hindsight after playing the sequels. I mean, I've been holding back a room full of elephants this entire video, but I still think when looked at in isolation, the moment trumps all questions that are raised from it. I mean, the music track that plays here is called Miracle. What follows is a sort of cooldown period of the story. We do eventually return to Hollow Bastion to seal the keyhole, but first we gotta stop by Traverse Town, catch up with Leon and crew, and drop Kairi off.
Finally, we're together, Kairi. Now, it's time to get Riku back.
Kairi doesn't join our party, she just kind of spends the rest of the game in Traverse Town. I really wish that they would have integrated her more into Leon's gang, especially since we find out that they all share Hollow Bastion as their hometown, or home bastion. Oh yeah, and there's never a conversation between Sora and Leon saying, oh yeah, that Ansem guy, sorry, turns out he wasn't trying to put an end to the Heartless, in fact, he was creating more. Yeah, what a coincidence. All the reports that we find after this are super incriminating. Talking about how he's pumping darkness into people until they explode, feeding people to a horde of Heartless in the basement of Hollow Bastion, kidnapping little girls. Maybe he was different back then, or Leon is a really bad judge of character, but I'll still miss you, man.
We may never meet again, but we'll never forget each other.
According to Aerith, if we defeat Ansem, all the worlds destroyed by the Heartless will be restored. Everything will return back to the way it was, which means no gummy ships, no space travel, no visiting other worlds. How does she know this? Don't worry about it. But you guys are at least coming to help, right?
Wrong.
Before we go to the aptly named End of the World, Kingdom Hearts has quite the end game. From here, the Hades Cup opens, you got tons of items you can make in the synthesis shop. We haven't even talked about all the Dalmatians that are locked in treasure chests across the worlds. Talk about things Nomura doesn't want you to think about. In Final Mix, a lot of the synthesis material can only be found by defeating these special Heartless. They're usually less of a straightforward fight, but rather a puzzle. This ghosted Monstro is only damaged by healing items, kind of like the zombie status in Final Fantasies. You gotta play Simon Says with this Black Nocturne in Deep Jungle. They range from fun to a little absurd. I think I just preferred the mushrooms in the base release, who are still here. It's just the fail state with them isn't usually death. Of course, the real highlight of the endgame is the secret bosses: Phantom, Kurtziza, Ice Titan, Sephiroth, and Unknown. These provide an incentive to get the best gear, level up to as high as you want, because they are much more difficult than the main story bosses. For better or for worse, all of them do succumb to the nature of an RPG. If you can't beat one, go out, grind 10 levels, come back, and it's a night and day difference in difficulty. All of them ask you to be super careful with your MP, Phantom probably being the epitome of that. Kurtziza is the ultimate big enemy, Ice Titan the how well can you dodge and reflect litmus test, and of course Sephiroth, the ultimate challenge of the Kingdom Hearts 1 base game. Final Mix of course adds another with additional cutscenes, a black-robed individual who is simply referred to as Unknown. There's no voice acting to be heard in this scene before the fight, apart from these recycled lines from Sora and Goofy.
Ansem?
And yeah, if you've played a certain other game, you probably know who this is. The mysterious man calls Sora special, incomplete, and that he reminds him of someone. And then he tests our strength with his lightsaber hands. It is such a shame that the non-Japanese audience didn't get this on their PS2s back in the day. Even though the cutscene is made on such a budget, it is just so effective in raising anticipation. The fight itself, on the other hand, it is the most difficult fight in the game, as it should be, but I never find myself enjoying it as much as Ansem Riku, Kurtziza, or Sephiroth. He doesn't feel like a Kingdom Hearts 1 boss. Sora's toolkit is not adept enough to deal with him. And sure, you get difficulty out of that, but not necessarily satisfaction. You can hit him with gravity and counterattacks. Tinkerbell's also not a bad option, but I feel like I need more than just this puny dodge roll to avoid his hour-long attacks. And you know, I might just be bad. The real issue was my expectations. This fight was basically DLC on a 10-plus-year-old classic for non-Japanese people, which is a situation that, let's face it, isn't all too common. With that out of the way, let's go to the proper endgame in End of the World.
Gorge, is that all that's left of the worlds taken by the Heartless?
Thanks for the exposit, Goofy. End of the World is exactly that. Fragments of worlds the Heartless have corrupted in one big black hole tossed salad. The first room gets across the atmosphere immediately. This is what will happen if you fail. It's just a big purple void of nothingness. It's lonely, it's bleak, it's foreboding. This world is also kind of like a Heartless airport. According to the official guide, these beams here are what the Heartless use to enter other worlds. You'll find one for each that we visited, plus 100 Acre Wood, which I didn't think was a world, just a magic book that Merlin wanted. But yeah, by evidence of this, the Heartless are 100% capable of invading Pooh's home anytime they want, and I don't think they would see a lot of resistance. While it can be aesthetically pleasing at points and indirectly answer some questions, boiled down to its core, this is a linear final dungeon with fights that you cannot skip. Now, I mean, you can skip a lot of them, just make sure you don't open these treasure chests, make sure you don't walk into these beams, and that the coinciding world has its keyhole sealed. It goes against the action RPG DNA of Kingdom Hearts. It feels like random encounters from Final Fantasy. We've seen unfleeable enemy encounters in past worlds, but those have usually had story implications or other gameplay things to mix them up. This just turns into an absolute slog of repetitive battles against the same enemies. Who on earth designed this behemoth boss, and why do we fight it 3 times? That being said, I wouldn't have said no to more Final Fantasy inspired Heartless. Chernobog is freaking sweet. Probably the best out of left field Disney reference thus far. I mean, it does kind of fit that we would find Satan hanging out down here. The fight is less of a fight and more of a visual and audio spectacle. It is still a fight. I mean, he wants to murder you, but it is far from being considered complex. Avoid the fire and smack him. You even got this nice little cubby you can stand on. Once he goes down, you'll be rewarded with the final shared ability in the game, Super Glide. Oh, look how fast he goes. Kill like 700 more Heartless and you will arrive at the final rest, the last save point in the game. You're free to get back on the Gummi Ship, do some more in-game stuff, or go through this familiar looking door and start the final string of bosses.
Is this my island?
We've come full circle, arriving back at Destiny Islands. Unfortunately, there's no time to show Donald and Goofy around, as there's someone waiting for us on the shoreline.
This island is a prison, surrounded by water. And so this boy sought out to escape from his prison. He sought a way to cross over into other worlds, and he opened his heart to darkness.
It's apparent that Ansem's talking about Riku here and his fall into his favorite word, darkness.
Darkness, 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 darkness is the heart's true essence.
I think these scenes really spell out that Riku is the main character of this story. He was the one to succumb to the darkness, to take the quick and easy path, to get all the special powers. Ansem is saying, well, this is how everybody is. Everybody's evil by nature. It's a very simple yet deep philosophical question. The outcome of this story depends on whether or not redemption is possible for Riku. Sora is somebody whose convictions are already firmly in place. His role now is to help Riku see them for himself and to murder Ansem.
Every light must fade. Every heart return to darkness.
What follows is your typical JRPG final boss ladder, complete with a shirtless Ansem umbilically connected to this giant battleship Heartless. It's a poor man's statue of the gods from FF6, where you had a lot of symbolism and vertical progression. Here you're just flying around killing, I don't even know what this stuff is. To be fair, the Ansem fights before this are really good, especially Ansem 2. He's got this JoJo's stand where if it hits you, your command menu gets all jumbled and you can accidentally freeze yourself. Ignoring the fact that Unknown can also do this, it's just a really fun gameplay twist to pull out at the very end, and it catches you off guard in the best way possible. The fights against umbilical cord Ansem, on the other hand, are just not good. Like Chernobog, you're flying, fighting a big guy with only like a 4th year combat abilities, which in fairness would not be a big deal. These could be more spectacle than anything, except it is very possible to lose here and start all over. I suppose visually it's impressive, but it doesn't sit right with me that the very final combat encounter just isn't a traditional feet on the ground fight. Maybe I'm the minority and people get a kick out of this, and that's great for them, but point is, we're done. Beat Ansem here, you finished Kingdom Hearts.
It is futile. The Keyblade alone cannot seal the door to darkness. Kingdom Hearts!
There it is! There it is!
Fill me with the power of darkness! Supreme darkness!
You're wrong. I know now, without a doubt. Kingdom Hearts is light.
Light! But why?
We've reached the big question. What exactly is Kingdom Hearts? Well, for all intents and purposes, it is the realm of darkness we've heard tale about. Quite simply, the idea that is being conveyed here, this Kingdom Hearts, this heart of all worlds, this realm of darkness, even there exists light. No matter how far someone has fallen, there is always room for vindication.
Don't give up! Come on, Sora! Together we can do it!
We close the door to the realm of darkness, not without getting a glimpse of Riku here, who, I mean, he doesn't say sorry or anything. It's not like he has a lot of time. Oh my god, it's Mickey Mouse.
Your Majesty! Now, Sora, let's close this door for good!
Yep, they squeezed him in just before the credits, and it's a great moment. I absolutely adore this entire ending. Okay, except for this right here, when Kairi appears on this little thing of sand, it feels extremely contrived. I suppose now that Ansem's gone, all the worlds are going back to normal, and she was just passing through. It's fine, they get their moment out of it. Credits roll, and we get some extra scenes, some of which have requirements to unlock. We see the trio survived while Riku and the King remain missing, and Pluto, holding a letter from the King, leads the chase. Now, depending on how much stuff you did, the difficulty you chose, and version of the game you have, you can get up to 2 secret cutscenes here. Another Side, Another Story, as well as Another Side, Another Story Deep Dive. Tonally, these are much darker than what we just played. They do feature familiar looking characters, as well as this blonde-haired kid, but they're all grown up. Nobody's showing their faces. You got these black trench coats everywhere, even on Mickey here. Nomura would reveal that these were made to gauge interest in a possible sequel. But that's a story for another day. It is about time we wrapped up. We made it, we're done. That's Kingdom Hearts. Thank you so much for making it to the end. There's just a few more closing thoughts I wanted to communicate on this game. A game that is really, really special to me. And like, it always has been for years and years and years, ever since I first played it. You know, it kind of got me into RPGs, even though I think I got it and Final Fantasy X at the same time, that of which I've become a huge fan. It was interesting doing this inside of a vacuum without talking about stuff from the sequels, and it is impossible to look at this game now after, what, 20 plus years of other Kingdom Hearts stuff, right? But I remember it back when that was the only Kingdom Hearts game. There wasn't like a reliable news outlet for like, oh, when's the next Kingdom Hearts? Nothing, and it just felt like forever. Anyway, Kingdom Hearts 1 itself. It's had 20 years to marinate in my mind, probably, you know, 10 or so playthroughs. So it really is impossible for me to look at it with fresh eyes. I will always have a certain way that I see the combining of Square and Disney properties. It is the most ambitious crossover. As an experience, it still holds up great today. Could there be more Kingdom Hearts videos? Absolutely. I mean, it's totally dependent on how this video does. I would love to play Chain of Memories and 2 and da-da-da-da-da-da. I have stories about them all. I have real life stories. I mean, I remember what I was doing in life. Like when every single one came out. It would be great to do more. One is my favorite. One probably will continue to be my favorite. I would love to cover the rest. These really are made with love and care. Leave a comment, tell me what you think. This has been Shanmania. Thank you so much for watching. It is starting to rain in this thunderstorm. Have a good one, and I will see you in my next one.